All right, so we're finally on to the next project. This is a 2002 Ducati 748 Superbike. This is based off of the 916 platform. Eventually, the 916 turned into the 996, and the 996 turned into the 998, and then when it went to the 999, it changed the body style completely. But some say that this is one of the most beautiful bikes that there is. So each one had a few different models. There was S model versions, which usually came with Olean suspension. This is the base model with a back seat, so it's called a bi-postal. So two people can sit here. There's not a lot of room for a person on the back, but there is some. I think the single seat ones are a little bit prettier because they have like a venting system that's like right here. But the reason I picked this guy up is because it only has 2,300 miles on it. Yeah, so it doesn't even seem like it was barely ridden, but we're gonna have to go through the whole thing to figure out what's going on. And because, what is that? It's been sitting for 24 years. So yeah, so let me walk you around this rig. So we did get the last Ducati running, and I'm really hopeful that we can get this one running. So you can see the on and off switches are more the red color that they're supposed to be compared to the other one where they were all faded. So what's cool about this is it has a single-sided swing arm. It actually did come with some slip-ons. I think they're just slip-ons to right there. I don't think it's a full system. It does have a dry clutch, and this is not factory, but it is a tiny little cover to try to stop you from getting chopped up. The thing that kind of concerns me is these tires. I bought an original 2001 996 from the dealer, and these tires look exactly like those that came on it. So these tires are probably 20-something years old. So that's fun. Not to mention they're flat, and they are not, so they're obviously not holding air, but they're flat, and the bike is actually kind of hard to move. But the clutch does cycle. It feels like it doesn't quite have all of its stroke. The front brakes feel amazing, and that is pretty much the same as the other Ducati, which is dual Brembos in the front, Brembo in the back. So the whole system is set up slightly differently, where the battery is actually on the side right here. So I bought this from a guy on OfferUp who rode it for a little bit, had a family, and then just left it parked in his garage. So all of the scuffs that you would see on it, like right there, that's all from just sitting in his garage. So found him. I want to say that it paid maybe $1,200 for this, or was it more? I don't remember at this point. Maybe it was more, but I felt like it was a good deal. So we got it, brought it back, and now we're going to dig into it. So I think what I would like to try to do first is open up the gas tank, see what's going on in there. Hopefully they drained it. If not, then obviously we got to go through the whole gas tank. And then I would at least like to look at the fuel lines before we crack this whole thing open. So this whole thing kind of opens a little differently than any of the other ones, where this seat kind of just rocks back, and then there's a peg right there that this whole gas tank kind of just slips into. So we could see how far any of the fiddling went with this. I can see that it looks like a plug-in for a battery tender right here. But so far, that's all I see for right now. All right, so to get the back tail section, there's a key spot right there. You kind of lift and pull. So the seat's very different than the monster that we were working on. Looks like it's got its toolkit, which is cool. Oh, it's got some old registrations too. Okay. Put that back in here. So right here, it's missing a bolt. Looks like it should have had a bolt right there. And then that looks like the original wiring for all of the turn indicators, the license plate lights, the running lights, brake lights. So I'll probably just need to get a kit or something that'll bolt right there. So we'll have to figure that part out. So this has sort of like a hinge mechanism right here. But what I did notice was the bolts for the gas tank is currently not in there. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure that part out. So I think we're gonna go ahead and take off all of the side panels now. So on the 996, it actually had these cool clips that just kind of turned and popped in, but these actually have a Phillips, so we just gotta pop all those out real quick. All right, so we got all these bolts out. There is 2 on the bottom that hold both sides together. And I recommend kind of holding up the panel as you're trying to get those out. All right, now that those are out, so the panel actually kind of plugs into this part, so you need to kind of go down and then it pops out. So there's your battery. So here's where the battery tender's hooked onto. Yeah, everything's kind of changed around a bit wider in a way. So you can see the oil level right here. The oil doesn't look as dark as the Monster, but this oil might be 20-some years old. So you got the master cylinder for the rear brake right here, the reservoir right here. The reservoir is actually looking a little bit low. Definitely don't want to get your foot in here, but this side of the engine's pretty similar. So there's the oil fill right there. It's just you have a lot of the electronics on the side here. So pretty much the same for the other side. You just got to take all these off. And then from there, we're going to start looking at everything and just seeing what we can see. All right, so we got all the bolts off. One thing you're gonna have to negotiate on this side is the kickstand. So we gotta come off and then go around the kickstand, and then now you're off. So there's a lot of things to negotiate, especially with a panel that's all nice and painted. All right, so now I'm gonna check the gas tank. Well, it smells like gas. I see gas in there, and it actually looks kind of clear. We'll see if we can get you guys in here to see it. Trying to shine a light and not block anything. So it's really low, which is good, but definitely see some gas in there. So I'm gonna close this back up. Since the back bolt is out, and so it's just a peg that goes in that way. So it kind of needs to come this way and then it can go out, but obviously all the fuel lines are still connected. Oh, there's something. So the gas tank is also part of the air box. So you got both of the throttle bodies right here. And what do we got going on right there? I don't know. I'm guessing that would need to be connected, I would assume. Whoa. Look how shredded it is. Okay, well, even this line looks a little bit... Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna... So what concerns me is plugging in the battery right here and then cycling the switch, and then it just sprays gas everywhere. So I feel like what I'm gonna need to do is probably, because why is that off, first of all? And look at the hose, it's split. This hose looks a little bit wonky. It's a breather tube. I mean, what's going on there? Some boogies. Seems like we keep buying stuff with boogies in it. From what I remember about my other bike, you just turn these and then they pop out. So those should be pretty easy to get on and off, because in some ways these kind of hold on the airbox right here. I think the best thing to do would be maybe to just pull off. All these lines go underneath this part and probably connect down in here. So I'm gonna sit down and kind of dig through it and see what I could see, but I'll bring you back in. All right, so what we did here was we marked out where we think the hoses would go. So this is the one that was already popped off, and it kind of looks like it was crushed in a way. So we need to put a new hose clamp on there, and we think that one went there. But this B one, I mean, look at where the screw is literally facing up. So I'm not even sure how somebody could have tightened that one. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the gas tank off, and then we'll deal with everything in the gas tank and maybe see if we can't manually cycle the fuel pump. And then what the goal will be is to take off this part, so this part of the air box. So then all of these hoses that are coming right here, we can see how far they go, and if it's possible just to start replacing these hoses. because that just does not look right, that being all shredded like that. So I'm just gonna try to somehow get that off, and then I guess I'll see you when I got the gas tank off. All right, I think I finally got everything off. So luckily these two vent tubes, maybe one's to the top of the fuel neck, and then the other one is, I have no idea. But there's the fuel plug-in. This kind of looks newer than, yeah, that kind of looks newer. So I wonder if that was replaced. So the gas tank is now free. Let me show you everything going on here. So we kept everything labeled, and we'll have to double check to see if it actually is correct. There's like a clear something going on right here. So as far as I know, here's all the electronics for should be the fuel sender, fuel pump, and I think that's the fuel pressure regulator. So I'm gonna set this aside, probably drain out the gas, or I might leave it as we're trying to cycle the gas to see what happens. And yeah. So I'm gonna set this aside and see if I can't get off this other part of the airbox. All right, so it looks like there is 6 bolts holding it on right here, right here, right here, and right here. And I got a 6mm Allen head. So it's gonna unscrew everything. All right, so I believe these spouts are also holding it on, so we'll put those aside. You just twist and then they pop out. It's these 2 little tabs that are locating on these pins. And then it looks like this is similar to how the airbox on the other one hooked on. It's like these weird clips. All right, so we'll have to look around. Is there anything else that is locking this thing in, or is it just wedged in at this point? Kind of feels, yeah, it just feels like it's wedged in. Looks like there's a nice gasket that goes around these ram air runners that actually go right here under, can't even get to it, underneath the headlights. So it looks like it might be being held by the seat. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so it looks like there's a hose connected right there that we'll need to get off. Now I can let this relax. Not sure what's going on with this hose. Can we just force it through or what? Yeah, it looks like we could just force it back out. There we go. All right, now that's completely free. So that was the other reason why we needed to get this free, is because now all of these lines right here, we could see exactly where they're going so that we could hopefully diagnose and try to replace them just to see. So what's cool is you can see the throttle bodies right here. Pretty nifty. So it looks like it has a single fuel injector. I think the 996 has 2 fuel injectors per cylinder. So we just need to look at these lines and just follow them, trace them back, and see what we can do there. All right, so now that we got that other part of the airbox off, this does look like it only has the 2,300 miles. But in case I didn't get into it, yeah, it was just garage kept, and I mean, there are some scuffs on it because it looked like it was just sitting in a garage. But anyways, so maybe the person before it was sitting, and then they tried to get it going again and put a new fuel pump, and then the hoses are old. I don't know. But so if you follow this hose back, it goes under here, and then it connects into this throttle body at the bottom of this housing where the fuel injector's at. And then there's a bridge that goes across to the other fuel injector, and then there's a hose that comes back from that. So there are these little markings on here. There's one for M, and then there's one for R. So I don't know, main and return maybe. So maybe the return popped. All right, so if we're diagnosing this, so either the hose is just old and it popped, or if they did clean out the fuel tank, maybe the fuel pressure regulator's bad and the pressure just went through the roof and popped the hose. I don't know. But anyways, I think we should replace at least the hoses. And I do have enough for that. And it looks like right here, these are not the typical clamps. This is probably, you know, what the OE uses. So these are going to have to be like cut off, because I feel like if I'm replacing these, I might as well replace the one that's bridging the two together. But I'm not sure. I mean, if it's not leaking kind of thing, but it just concerns me, because if that pops, what's going to happen is this hot gas is, or the gas is going to go all over the engine, and then at the bottom is the header. So, and what's crazy about these Ducatis from this era, each valve has its own exhaust pipe, and then it goes into one. So it's like literally a little header. Think about that. It's like how to get these off. It looks pretty thick. I'm not sure that I can just like cut it with some wire snips. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I pound a screwdriver in there and it'll get enough to release it. But these shouldn't be too bad. And there's a nice little thing right here that holds them. So just got to get them back up over to this. I think I'm going to use different hose clamps that aren't all crushed. Those look pretty crushed. Yeah, so we're going to dig into that. I think I'm going to take the gas tank and I'm going to hook some power to it just to see if we can't get the fuel pump to cycle over and maybe it'll spray gas everywhere. Okay, so what I did now was I hooked it to a car battery. So it's going directly to there. And then I have these two lines that are both coming out of the gas tank, just leading to over there. And I hooked it up to the fuel pump that's inside of here. And I just want to see what happens. Is the fuel pump good? Does it start pumping gas or what? Just trying to build a parts list of what's going on. So let's see what happens. Oh, definitely hear the pump going. Huh. So the pump's definitely going. Let me see if I angle this gas tank to more of the back. Let's see if it actually gets anything. I don't know, it sounds different, but it's not leaking. It doesn't seem like it's actually flowing anything. It does seem like all the electronics are working. Oh, we got headlights. Can flash the brights. That's cool. What about, no, we do got brake lights. That's cool. Let's see. Ooh. Yeah, this is indicating that it is definitely ready to rock. Oh, we are getting gas. It's just taking a while. Well, that's interesting. So that one's pumping gas, but this one is not. So that one definitely must be the return. All right, well, that's interesting. There is not a lot of gas in here, so maybe it is just unable to get enough pressure. I mean, I was kind of hoping to see that thing just start spraying out of there, like shh, but could be that there's just not a lot of gas in here. I can definitely hear it running though. Let me pull this key out, open this up. Maybe we could hear it running a little bit better. All right, so it seems like that is working. I still think that I would like to take apart the gas tank and go through there. It's nice to see that the fuel pump is actually working though. The only other thing I can think of, should we see if it'll turn over? We're in neutral. Oh, it definitely will turn over. Okay. All right, so I thought the next thing that I might try is, so the gas tank's off now, is I thought maybe if I just put a tickle of gas down each one of the throttle bodies just to see if it'll, just to see if there's some pop off. You know, is it getting spark? Is all of that good to go? Like, just wanted to see, is there anything else stopping it from running? Ooh, there we go. All right, that's a really, 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 really good sign. So I'm going to open up the throttle bodies, try to get more into the cylinder. Okay. All right. All right. So I think that means it's a runner. All right, so pretty exciting. We know everything that it needs. We know that it's a runner. All the electronics seem like they're working well. I do think that it'd probably be good to flush everything out. And it does look like this clutch actually has the bleeding nipple on there. It kind of doesn't feel like the clutch has a full stroke to me, but maybe it's good enough. So I'm going to get everything on order. The fuel line, things like that. And I'm going to have to go find some clips. I'm not going to be able to put on the same kind of clips that these are. Probably just going to have to put on spiral clamps similar to this, but just not all bent up, and replace those. I guess while I'm here, I'm even going to replace the one that's going between the two. Might as well, right? So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to dive into the gas tank as well. I'm going to pull it off from the bottom, go through the whole thing, see. I don't know, I have the sneaking suspicion that it might be the fuel pressure regulator. Like maybe it's all gummed up or something like that, but I think we'll know once we dive into there. But maybe I'll just get the parts on order and return them if I don't need them. So I think that that's where we're at with this. Other than it needing brand new tires, I think before I put it back, I'll put some air in the tires to see if it's easier to roll. But unfortunately, all that's going to be for next week. So a bit of a shorter video this week. I just want to do this right, since literally you're going to be sitting here and you don't want a fuel line blowing off, and because more than likely it'll happen when you're riding, and you'll be lucky if you crash. But more than likely the engine will light it, or the exhaust on the bottom will just light it, the whole thing up on fire. So yeah, I want to make sure that's all done correct. So we're going to have to dive back into that next week, but thank you for watching. If you have any comments or anything I'm missing, put them down below. But thanks for watching, and give us a like, give us a follow.